us, I'd love to just take a moment to introduce our panel today. And we really do hope that this can be a conversation. We really do strive to create partnerships where we can bring our knowledge of child development and early education, as well as teaching experience, to serve as a partner with other educators in the state of Texas and support the high quality implementation of Every Child Ready. So as I mentioned, I'm Siobhan Brown. I'm Chief of Research and Innovation, and I'm going to pass it over to Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Doggett. I'm with Paradigm Shift, supporting Apple Tree, and former pre-K teacher here in Texas. Born and bred here in Texas, know what it's like to teach in Texas, and passionate about early childhood.
Anne?
Good afternoon. I'm Anne Malone. I'm the Chief of Growth and Impact for Apple Tree Institute. And Siobhan, just go to the next slide for a second. Thank you. So wanted to welcome you this afternoon and to give a little bit of background. I was a literacy coach and a leader at Apple Tree School at the start of my career. And it was a school that only had pre-K students in it. And one of my main responsibilities those years was to guide teachers in how to use 5 different curricula in order to satisfy the early learning standards and also to provide a well-rounded education. So I get how challenging that is to try to piece together multiple curricula in order to satisfy needs. We were really fortunate because in 2010, we had the opportunity to apply for a grant to write the curriculum of our dreams. It was a curriculum that was a one-stop shop for teachers, one that had themes that teachers loved to teach and students loved to learn, and one that was rich in content and skills and really prepared kids for kindergarten, which was our mission. So grant funding allowed us to create Every Child Ready, which you're going to see today. And it's a one-of-a-kind curriculum that teachers can access from one technology platform. Lessons are written, alignment to standards is clear, and student engagement is really high throughout the day. And as a school leader, I can honestly tell you that this curriculum changed the trajectory of both my students and my teachers. Students learned more because teachers were able to teach in a way that was well connected and deep throughout the units. Siobhan, if you could just go to the next slide. So I just want to highlight a few things about what made that difference in trajectory for students and teachers. I think the first is that ECR, Every Child Ready, is designed to support the way that children learn. Lessons are playful and purposeful and provide strong foundations of oral language, social emotional competence, and academic knowledge. Second, remembering that educators helped write this curriculum, we've continued to be responsive to educators throughout. We know that everything needs to be accessible in the same place. We know it needs to be flexible to the needs of new and seasoned teachers. We also know that just as our teaching core is diverse, we know our children are really diverse. So equity is a big piece of this. We have custom books and curriculum materials to reflect the diversity in race and culture and gender and family type. And that's an evolving library that we continue to improve. And lastly, differentiation is built into it. This is not a one-stop, there's only one way to teach students. Targeted small group lessons are built in, as well as differentiation opportunities in every lesson so that teachers can constantly adjust their instruction to meet kids' needs. I think all of those differences combined has helped make that change in trajectory for students and for teachers. And Siobhan on the next slide is going to talk about that lasting impact that we've seen.
Thanks, Anne. So we're so excited by the engagement of our families, our children, our teachers, but one thing that we always get asked is, that's great, it's engaging, it's differentiated, teachers love it, but does it work? And something that we're really proud to share with you all today is that, in fact, our pre-K graduates, when they leave our pre-K 4 classroom from a high-quality Every Child Ready implementation, they're ready for kindergarten in ways that their peers may not have had the opportunity because of the quality, the access to high-quality instruction. So you'll see here on the screen, we have a simple line graph from baseline to outcome. But what I wanted to call out was that the gains that we see to be especially strong are those that are measured by our literacy assessment, where children, you can see the steepest slope and the highest amount of growth compared to where they started the year, given the supports that we provide children. Of course, there was also supports across language, math, and social-emotional learning, because this comprehensive approach to early learning is just that. We're really touching across multiple domains. We wouldn't expect to see growth in just one of these domains or the other. And looking at our historical data, you'll also see, and we include this in our Texas manual, that by the end of pre-K, children in Every Child Ready classrooms meet or exceed the Texas pre-K guidelines for many skills and more. I've listed some of the big buckets here, which includes number recognition, rote counting, letter identification and sounds, and phonological awareness skills. Something that we're learning about the Texas process is that Texas districts really appreciate options and choice and really want to choose a program that best meets their needs. And we're excited to share that Every Child Ready participated in the Texas Resource Review process this last year with TEA. It was a wonderful process. We got lots of great feedback. We were very impressed by the caliber of expertise that went into the review process, but it is different than that proclamation piece. And so we would be happy to go into this in more detail in the Q&A, but I did want to bring to this conversation that Every Child Ready achieved the recommended threshold across every category. And in 7 of the 11 domains, we earned a perfect score. So happy to chat a little bit more about that. But as we learn more about the landscape of Texas, I did want to just name that we did go through this process and we know it is separate than the proclamation. So you might not have heard of Every Child Ready if you were just looking at that proclamation list. And Ken, I know you were serving as timekeeper, Ken, but I think we are moving on to questions and answers now. I hope we didn't go over 5 minutes. I think we started at 3:02. So we are happy to take questions. We have different resources pulled up so that we can share as people are interested.
So yes, anyone with a question, you can come off mute and ask your question. Feel free.
As early educators, we're giving wait time. Sorry, we can't hear you. Faintly, it's like a whisper.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm on campus and there's other people around and I'm having to wear my mask at all times. And so it's a little bit difficult sometimes for people to hear me. But anyhow, my question is on the materials. I know they did mention that some of the material in Spanish hasn't been reviewed yet. Is that the case for your materials, or is it still under review as well?
Yes, so for our materials, as part of the feedback that we received from TEA, which was incredibly helpful, we have made the decision to prioritize the translation of our content into Spanish. And so that will be ready for the upcoming school year, but it currently did not go through that other TEA process.
Okay. And I did have another question as far as we do have a lot of, we do the 50-50 here at our school, the dual model. And so that was one of the main questions that we had. But another question is the same with the Spanish portion, the literature. Is it going to be tied in with the English literature? In other words, if we're doing a 50-50, are we going to be able to use the same stories, that correlate in English and in Spanish as well?
Yes, and I'm smiling because Kathy has been coaching us and helping us with this Texas lens throughout the process. And our goal is to translate our core Every Child Ready books into Spanish, because we have published a whole library of books for 3- and 4-year-olds, and our goal is to have those books translated.
Yes, I mean, we've noticed that that's one of our biggest issues right now. We're having difficulty finding, the literature that is going to go hand in hand with both English and Spanish. And when we do have that switching, that the kids are not having to start, fresh, and the teachers having to literally do the legwork of having to translate everything because they don't have it available. So that's one of the things that I know our teachers here at our campus are always asking for, something that's going to correlate and go hand in hand in both English and in Spanish. And I'm sorry, I do have one more question. the support, the technical support. I mean, right now we're all having to work, from home or virtually, even if we're on campus. Most of our kiddos are at home. And so we have had those technical issues where, let's say with our reading adoption, we may create assignments for them. And they do have a hard time because they have to navigate through so many different links or so many different folders, that it makes it complicated, especially for our little ones. So for pre-K, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, and you can just imagine how much of a difficulty it is for them, and especially when parents are at work and they're at home with maybe an older sibling. That has been a big concern for us. So with that being said, in your area of the technology part, what you're offering online or virtually for them to use, is there going to be that type of support where we as teachers can go and just get on and have somebody maybe chat with us online to kind of guide us if we have any issues?
Yeah, and I love that you bring up the challenges that our educators are facing. We are serving classrooms who are fully in person, who are blended, and who are virtual, and they all have very different needs with a common goal of making sure they're doing the very best they can for their children and families. And so our support team, I'm really proud of. We're very responsive, and you can go into, Anne supervises that team, so she can go into the specifics there, but I can confidently say that you would receive one-on-one support. Anne, do you want to expand on that?
I was just going to add that on our platform with Siobhan, if you have it pulled up, if you want to share, we really went through, before last year, we did not have a virtual curriculum, but now we do. So as a teacher, you can log in, and if you are, Siobhan's going to show you in a second. If you are in person, you can go to the regular in-person curriculum. If you are, right, with the top that Siobhan is highlighting, that gets you the in-person. And then if you go remote, like my kids are, they flip remote, then you can access the virtual content as well. It also gives teachers the choice that if they are doing virtual, but they want to add something else, they still have access to all of the tools. And I think, to what we said about being responsive to educators, we really try for that customer support so that we are there to give you ideas, to walk you through so you know how to access everything. We also are a real convener of educators, so building our own network of bringing teachers together across geographies too, to share best practices.
Another thing I'll add is we have a really unique partnership with Nick Jr.'s Noggin, which is their educational side of the shop, and Sparkler Learning. And we came to this partnership because we were learning that just as you mentioned, families were doing the best they could, but there was still downtime during the day. And we really wanted to make sure that families were supported in a variety of different modalities to reinforce learning. So all of our content on Noggin is aligned with the Every Child Ready standards that children are learning either in person, virtual, or blended. And then we also partner with Sparkler Learning to support communication between teachers and families. And Sparkler is an off-screen kind of family engagement tool that offers English and Spanish content, where families can type in a message and it'll even translate going back and forth.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies.
You're welcome. I'm going to drop in the chat a one-page overview that we created for today.
And while you're doing that, Siobhan, I'll just share that, because I'm real familiar with the other options in Texas, because I've been helping teachers use them and principals and schools use them for many years. I think one of the things that really differentiates Every Child Ready is the focus on learning academics through play. So we know we have to get kids ready for kindergarten. Many schools are teaching kids in English and Spanish and want that language proficiency, but we also need to teach the way children learn, which is through play. And that brings the best out in children and often the best out in teachers. And so I think that's something that's really special and held sacred in this curriculum. So if that's something that speaks to your heart and to, you know, what you know is right for young children, this might be a good fit for you. And as Siobhan shared, even though it is not listed on the pre-adoption list, this is an option that's available for Texas districts. And you get the bonus of having that like 100+ pages of quality review. There's been a team that scrutinized every inch of this curriculum to show that it's a great option and that it's a great way for kids to learn the pre-K guidelines.
Thanks, Kathy. If people are interested, I see, you know, most cameras are off, but we'd love to hear where you all are calling in from. If you want to drop in the chat your district.
I'm here from El Paso, from EPISD, El Paso Independent School District, and I am a campus teaching coach. But I was teaching first grade prior to accepting this job. I've only been in this job for a couple of months, so I'm pretty fresh from the classroom, and I've been in the classroom for 12 years.
My name is Aubrey Rivera. I'm the Dean of Instruction here at La Villa ISD for the elementary. I oversee pre-K all the way through 5th. Right now, you know, we are going through the transitions of virtual and physical, so that's where we're at as far as my experience. 9 years as a teacher, and for the past 3 years I've been the Dean of Instruction here at the elementary level. So that's really where it is. Oh, and in La Villa, we are a small district. We're 1A, and we are in South Texas, and the biggest city closest to us would be Edinburgh, Texas. So that's where we're at.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline, Dallas, Texas. I am very new in this pre-K coordinator position, just started this year. My experience has been a campus director for about 10 years. And so I'm going to be overseeing several pre-K departments in our different campuses. I work for Responsive Education Solutions, which is a charter school organization. And so we are just getting pre-K4 in our schools. We always started from kinder. And so I'm trying to learn everything I need to learn about the pre-K area so that we can put together a quality program.
Jacqueline, thank you so much for sharing. You bring up a really good point, and part of what I should mention, and we mentioned it at the top, but we really do approach this as a partnership above and beyond a publisher, and have a whole host of kind of, where do I start with pre-K? I know kindergarten, I know first, second, third, but how do I really launch this pre-K program? But Kathy, I think I talked over you. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I was just going to share, one of the things I like is that this curriculum works for both brand new educators and experienced educators. So if you're experienced, you can take it and you can use your discretion and go from there. But if you're new, it's a high level of structure and support so that if you're following it, you're really going to get those great results that we saw. So it helps, you know, no matter what level of experience your teachers are.
I need to jump in here and remind us that our 20 minutes is up, so we really appreciate the questions, great conversation, and to the participants, we've allowed about 5 minutes for you to make the transition to your next session. So if you would do that now, and we will reset and reconvene here in 5 minutes. And if you have other questions for these guys and want to stay for another 20-minute session, you're certainly welcome to do that. But our time is up for this round. Thank you.
I'm going to stay because I missed the beginning. So I'm going to stay so I can hear the beginning of the presentation.
Excellent.
And also, it looks like your name on Zoom is your email. So we can also email you some more information if you want to hear more. But Appletree works with lots of charters all around the country.
Okay. Thank you.
And Siobhan and Ann, if we end up having any time in the next one, I'd love to ask people what they like about their current curriculum or what they're looking for in a future curriculum to see if there's any connections that we can draw.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Perhaps at the top of the Q&A, if we don't have a lot of questions coming in, Kathy, you think?
Sounds good.
Love, and teachers get a lot of pleasure teaching. My name is Siobhan Brown. I'm Chief of Research and Innovation at Appletree Institute. And I'm so excited to convene this panel today to not only present Every Child Ready, but offer you our lens of high quality early learning from a background of child development, early education, and most importantly, teaching. So I'm going to pass it over to Kathy Doggett.
Hi, I am a former pre-K teacher, taught here in Texas in multiple districts in a charter, and I'm passionate about early childhood and also know what's unique about teaching pre-K in Texas.
Ann?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ann Malone. I'm the Chief of Growth and Impact for Appletree Institute. And although that is my title now, I started almost 15 years ago at Appletree, who runs pre-K schools in Washington, D.C. as a literacy coach and then as a principal. And my main responsibilities those years were really focused on helping teachers navigate 5 different curricula. We had 5 different curricula because we had to meet all the standards in DC. We had to provide a well-rounded education for students, and it was challenging to do that, as I'm sure many of you can sympathize with. But in 2010, we were really fortunate to have the opportunity to apply for a grant that would allow us to write the curriculum of our dreams. One that was a one-stop shop for teachers, that had themes that teachers love to teach and kids love to learn, and one that was rich in content and skills and really prepared kids for kindergarten, which was is at the core of the mission of Appletree. So we were able to create Every Child Ready, which you'll see some of today. And it's a one-of-a-kind curriculum that teachers can access from one technology platform, where lessons are written, alignment to standards is really clear, and student engagement is super high throughout the day. And I can honestly tell you as a school leader that this curriculum changed the trajectory of my students and of my teachers. Students learned more because teachers were able to teach in a well-connected and deep way throughout the units that wasn't possible before. Siobhan, if you can just click to the next. So there are a couple pieces of like what that difference is, and I want to highlight a couple of them. The first is that Every Child Ready supports the way that kids learn. Lessons are playful and purposeful and provide strong foundations of oral language, social emotional competence, and academic knowledge. Secondly, this was written by educators for educators and continues to be responsive to what teachers need. We know that it's important that everything's in one place and that's easy to find and easy to use. We know that it needs to be flexible, whether it's a brand new teacher or a seasoned teacher. So all the range of tools is there. And similarly, just as we know our teaching core is diverse, we know that our student body is diverse. And so equity is at the core of it too. We have designed custom books and materials that reflect diversity in race and culture and gender and family type. And that's an evolving library, an evolving list of materials as we learn more. And lastly, differentiation is built into it. So there are targeted small group lessons throughout the day that address different learning needs. And it's also that differentiation is also built in at the lesson level. So all of that combined has just provided an incredible change and trajectory for students and teachers in DC, and with our partners in New York and in Texas. So Siobhan on the next slide is going to talk about how we've seen that impact play out.
Thanks, Anne. So I'm excited to share that because Every Child Ready came out of not only a school operator, but also a research institution, we have a really robust body of data that we go to evaluate the effectiveness of what we've created. And I'm thrilled to share that we consistently see that our Every Child Ready graduates, when they leave their pre-K 4 year, they consistently enter kindergarten with the skills ready to thrive. So they see significant gains in language, literacy, math, and social emotional learning. And by the end of their pre-K year, we've also noticed that children in ECR classrooms meet or exceed the Texas pre-K guidelines for a variety of skills. I've listed some of the big buckets here, including numeral recognition or number ID, route counting, letter identification and sounds, and phonological awareness skills. If there's time in this session, I'd be happy to show you our embedded system of measurement of how we collect these data to inform instruction. I also want to just elevate in this conversation today that Every Child Ready is a quality option for all of you in the state of Texas. We are proud to say that we went through the Texas Resource Review process, which was really quite robust. And Kathy will share later perhaps, but we had quite the report that came out of this process where they went line by line evaluating our curriculum. And I'm excited to share that we met or exceeded the threshold across all domains, and we achieved a perfect score at a 7 out of the 11 domains. So across most domains, we did achieve a perfect score for that Texas Resource Review process. And I want to make sure that we have time for discussion. And so I am prepared to click over to the curriculum. I can show additional resources. I know, Kathy, you've been moderating the chat, so perhaps we could go there to see what people are engaging with.
Sure. So, and I'd love to hear some more responses of what you're looking for in a curriculum. I noticed user-friendly, and that's actually one of the things that differentiates Every Child Ready, because it was really made by and for teachers. It's all online. It's ready for teachers to use for planning, for all parts of the day, and it's adapted so quickly with the challenges with remote learning. Another mention was about dual language. And so there's a commitment to have all of the books and materials available in Spanish, so that if you're teaching in dual language, you'll have everything you need for both the Spanish language and an English language component. There's also a mention of SEL, social emotional learning, which is a huge, huge part of early learning in Every Child Ready. And it's built in throughout the day. It's weaved in there. And also I noticed a social emotional component. That was something that, or a socio-cultural component. That was something someone had mentioned. And Apple Tree has actually put this curriculum through an equity audit, where they have looked carefully at every picture book to see that kids of all colors, all backgrounds are represented as protagonists in the books. So there's a huge commitment by Apple Tree to really offer something that speaks to all children. So I wanted to just mention those few things based on what we see in the chat. The dual language Spanish portion, I think I mentioned that. The books were written in-house. Love to see a sample. Siobhan and Anne, do you want to speak to that? And then I think there's also some additional, it's not just the books in-house, but you could speak to that.
Sure. So we have a balance of books that we produce in-house with Apple Tree Institute, and trade books that children know and love, or trade books that perhaps children haven't had access to, and we build those into the model. And so I would be happy to share. In fact, I'll drop a link, because our website does have some free access to Every Child Ready books, which is a real perk when you're the publisher, because you can give things away for free, which is my favorite part of my job. So I will certainly drop that in the chat. But I should say, or just mention, that all of our books for our read aloud component have associated lessons that go with them to really encourage teachers asking higher order questions and follow question taxonomy to improve children's narrative comprehension, as well as vocabulary strategies and different positive behavior supports to keep children engaged. So I would be happy to share that information.
And if anyone has questions for this panel, feel free to unmute yourself and join the conversation.
Siobhan, I'm not sure if the link that you put in, there we go. I see a PDF now. Hopefully that one will work.
Great. I also, within that same, well, no, the link didn't work to everychildready.org because that has the free resources that include PDFs of the free books that we have online, as well as virtual or distance learning plans that we're providing to our communities for free that are available in English, Spanish, and Amharic. We have a very strong Ethiopian population here in DC, and so it was important for us to make sure that those materials were also accessible to those families. You can see on that website that everything is structured by unit. Drop in the chat. Do you want me to pull up the platform? I'd be happy to show you what this looks like, if that would be good.
Yeah.
We have a request to see the remote learning.
Oh, sure. Very good. Let me do that. And do you
And
want
while
to?
you're,
Go ahead, Kathy.
I was just going to say, while you're doing that, I just want to share that I think one of the things that really differentiates Every Child Ready is the commitment to teach the way children learn. You know, children's brains are wired to learn through play, and this curriculum provides structure and guidance to, you know, offer academic rigor, but do it in a way that children love and teachers enjoy.
So while Siobhan is pulling that up, I mentioned to the last group too that a year ago we did not imagine ever teaching virtually, but here we are. And so we wrote a brand new curriculum just to address the needs of virtual learning. So where Siobhan was earlier, Siobhan, can you just go back one tab?
Sure.
Yep. Oh, sorry, at the top. When you log into the platform, teachers and anyone has access to all of these pieces at the top. So if you are virtual, that's where Siobhan just clicked, that's a unit grid for teaching virtually. If you are in a blended classroom where there's a hybrid or, you know, kids are in person somewhat, there's a different grid for that. And then there's a different grid for in person. So classrooms that are, you know, having kids every day. The pacing varies and the content is all aligned, but is different depending on the delivery model in order to accommodate for the nuances of teaching virtually. We also have a component of ECR at home, which is a whole aligned piece that parents can work alongside their kids at home with to support learning. That is translated in 3 different languages as well. And then Siobhan, do you want to highlight the Noggin Sparkler piece too?
Happy to. You know, I love to talk about it. We also have a really unique partnership with Nick Jr. and Sparkler Learning. And so what's more fun than learning about phonological awareness than learning with the Paw Patrol pups? We did this in response to families who are saying, we are trying our very best, but the reality is we cannot lead every lesson or sit next to my child during Zoom all day. But we also don't want to just put, you know, the child in front of a screen that's not connected to what they're learning. And so we're working with the experts at Nick Jr. And we've aligned for every unit hand-selected pieces of media from Nick Jr., from Paw Patrol to Dora, Bubble Guppies, that align with the Every Child Ready standards that they're learning, either in person, virtual, or blended. And then we have an off-screen solution for family engagement and communication with Sparkler Learning, which provides activities for families to engage off the screen that reinforce the standards that children are learning, and also provides activities in English and Spanish, and a communication tool which allows families and teachers to translate between English and Spanish to support communication.
I have a question. Like, how do you show like the alphabet? How to teach the alphabet in what order? Like A, B, C, D, or you follow some, not say, some different letters?
Yes, we do have a scope and sequence for both letter identification and letter sounds that I would be happy to pull up. That said, the resources that we provide, we try to frame as just that, the resources. Sometimes children will master letters faster than others. And so we do want to make sure that teachers have space to bring in their expertise and adjust that scope and sequence. Something that we also do is measure. We have systems in place where teachers can record everything, all those, because we were following around teachers in their classroom and saw papers and binders and teachers gathering all this information, but we really wanted to put it in one place. And so teachers could actually go to a classroom report and say, okay, it looks like 5 out of my 15 kids know S, but only 1 or 2 know the letter Z, or what have you. Maybe that's a bad example, but we do provide letter level reporting. And I'm actually gonna go, I'm not gonna share my screen yet, but I'll go to the manual where I think we have our scope and sequence.
It's because like in Spanish, we teach the student to how to read by syllabus. So we usually start with the vowels, and in English it's different. But because we have dual language, we have to use the same letter every week. That my concern is we can use the same letter on the day, because we have right now big day, but they have different letters, and we don't use the sequence they have it on the teacher manual, because we have to start with the vowels for ma, me, mi, mo, mu, and then the other ones. That's I'm asking. Because then
One of the things,
use another.
yeah, one of the things that's great about Every Child Ready is that it's differentiated. So unlike what you're using right now, where it's like, this is week 1, you teach this letter, week 2, you teach this letter, you actually are looking at where the kids are and differentiating even the phonics instruction. And so if you are wanting to keep following that sequence where you teach syllables first and you teach the vowels first in Spanish, you could do that. The curriculum offers enough latitude where you can continue that on and still be following the curriculum.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Miss
I have a
Jackie?
question too.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry. Whenever you guys, how you said that it allows you to be like have the different letters. So right now, the one that we have, the big day, it has the letters, like the books include the letters. So then if we are not, so like the one that you have, it doesn't have like a letter per week. So it doesn't focus on books with letters.
No. Quick answer is no. Where you would see an opportunity for that is differentiation during morning meeting, where you can call out different letters. You might also see that in a section of our day where we do flexible small groups. So it's depending on the level of the child, you would be able to bring in small group lessons for that. But a lot of teachers will still do or choose letter of the week and put it up on the board and reinforce it that way. But you won't see a read aloud that's really primary focus on letter identification. It's really much more linked to thematic curriculum, and then big picture more concept development and higher order thinking, as well as embedded phonological skills and math, science, social emotional learning. But we don't spend a lot of time on like, this is A, and going through those types of books.
Oh, so it's a little bit more flexible as to the letters. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's our hope.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think just
the other thing,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the other thing is that some kids actually come in knowing a lot of letters, so they may not need all of that. So this allows for the kids to be challenged, every child to be challenged and get what they need to learn the next step in their literacy development.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we have, sorry, we have about a minute left. So time for one more quick question. If not, then we'll wrap it up.
Just a quick question. I don't know if they asked this. Do you all have the digital resources as well?
Yeah, we do. We provide completely virtual options, blended options, or in-person options, and everything is available online.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
This is a great option if you want something playful that your teachers and kids are going to love and is going to get your kids ready for kindergarten.
Okay, we are officially at time. And so we want to thank everyone who participated in this session. And you have about 5 minutes to move to your next one. And of course, if you want to stay here and talk with these folks for another 20 minutes, you're welcome to do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was here earlier actually, but I missed like the beginning because a parent came by and I was like, oh goodness, I had to go talk to them.
No
I'm from
worries.
Channel ISD.
Which ISD?
Channel View.
Channel View?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, thanks for coming back, Christina. Since you've heard the end of this, feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go. But
Okay.
we'll be happy to provide this kind of intro to you, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, sounds good.
So we're so excited that you're back to talk about Every Child Ready. We're really excited to talk about it because it's something that the three of us have a passion for, and we know that everyone is thinking right now about how to ensure that children establish a love of learning, but are also ready for kindergarten. So Every Child Ready really does offer that opportunity through playful themes and concepts that children love and that teachers love to teach. So you might have missed the introductions. If so, I'm Siobhan. I'm the Chief of Research and Innovation at Apple Tree Institute. Kathy?
And I'm Kathy Doggett, a former Texas pre-K teacher.
Forgot I was muted. Sorry about that. I'm Ann Malone. I'm the Chief of Growth and Impact for Apple Tree Institute. And I started my career at Apple Tree as a literacy coach and a principal, and spent a lot of time helping teachers get through 5 different curricula in order to get alignment to all of the standards that we needed to do. And in 2010, we were presented with an opportunity to create a curriculum that was one of a kind, one that was a one-stop shop for teachers, that had themes that teachers and kids loved, and that was rich in content and skills for kindergarten preparation, which is at the core of Apple Tree's mission. So we were able to create Every Child Ready, and it's a place where everything is together on one technology platform. Lessons are already written. There's clear alignment to standards, including state-specific standards like Texas, and student engagement and play are prioritized throughout the day. And I can honestly tell you as a school leader, this curriculum changed the trajectory of my students' lives and my teachers' lives because there was better teaching, so there was better learning. And I think the key differentiators come down to four things. One is that ECR really supports the way kids learn. Lessons are playful and purposeful and provide strong foundations of language and literacy and social emotional competence. Secondly, it was written by educators and continues to be responsive to educators. We're constantly listening to teachers about what they need, and heard loud and clear that everything needs to be in the same place, but flexible to the needs of both new and seasoned teachers. Thirdly, equity is really important. We serve a diverse population of students and teachers, and so we've created custom books and curriculum materials that reflect diversity in race, and gender, and culture, and in family type. That is continuing to grow as well. And lastly, differentiation is built into the design of it. There are targeted small groups each day, and differentiation is possible throughout every lesson. So kind of that combined has that is that differentiating factor. And Siobhan's going to share a little bit about how we've seen the impact. And I would say stop us if we get to a point that you've already heard. Just drop in the chat or come off mute and we can pick it up from there.
I was just going to say the same thing, Anne. Because we would be happy to, if you've seen this, Christina, we can go to the actual platform and click around and kind of give you a personalized tour if that would be a good use of your time.
I have not seen this yet.
Okay, great. Well, I'm excited to share then, since you're seeing this for the first time, that we have created a program with Every Child Ready that really does prepare children for kindergarten. Our results last, and children enter their kindergarten year ready to learn. You can see with the graph that children make significant gains from the beginning of the year to the end of the school year through literacy, language, math, and social emotional learning. And that by the end of the pre-K year, the pre-K 4 year, children in Every Child Ready classrooms meet or exceed the Texas pre-K guidelines for a variety of skills, including numeral recognition, rote counting, letter ID and sounds, and phonological awareness skills. Not sure if you heard us talk a little bit about the Texas Resource Review, but we did participate in that process with TEA over the last year. And we're excited to share that we achieved the recommended threshold across all domains and a perfect score on most domains included within this Texas Resource Review process. That said, you might already know this, but the Texas Resource Review process was a parallel process to the pre-adoption proclamation. So if you don't see Every Child Ready on the list, that's because it was a separate process, but we are available on the TEA website, and we are a quality option choice for your district after going through this process. And now it's time for your questions, or we can expand on any of the topics that are of special importance to you.
What was I gonna ask? Do you guys have like an access type of thing where I can like see like your website and all that?
Yeah, I would be happy to drop in. So we have a couple different things. We have a website that I'm going to drop in the chat that provides all types of free resources. And I think Kathy put it really well earlier, where it's kind of odd because we're at a conference right now where people are forward thinking and thinking about next year, but teachers are really in the thick of it right now, navigating blended virtual in-person learning. And so we have a whole library of free resources on our website that I'm going to drop in the chat. And then the Every Child Ready technology platform is where we house all of our content, the thematic units, the flexible small groups, our assessments, reporting. It's all housed there. Now, I can't give you access to that right now, but we would be happy to come to your district or just a Zoom meeting with you, and we can follow up with a really comprehensive demo.
Okay, I will ask my principal and assistant principal about that, about the presentation to the whole, our whole committee.
Do you want to drop your email in and we can follow up with you and see if that's something you want?
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that.
Great.
Siobhan, do you want to pull out the platform too? Just to, maybe you're in the process of doing that.
I'd love to, Anne. Thank you. I was just going to drop this in the chat. All right, heading over to the platform now. Share screen. All right, Christina, did you see? Oh, we have another participant as well. So I'll voice this over, but please drop in the chat if you want us to dig deeper into any area. But when you enter the Every Child Ready technology platform, you'll see the 10 units available here. As Anne mentioned earlier, we differentiate for pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 so that when you go to your pre-K 4 year, you're not just getting the same exact content. Our 10 units, as I mentioned, are located here. And if I click on, let's say, pre-K 4, from blueprints to buildings, at the top here, we have our traditional delivery, business as usual. But, this year we had to create a virtual curriculum, which was not something that we had previously offered. So you'll see that we have a virtual hub here, and you can click into specific lessons that have been modified to fit the virtual learning environment. We also have a blended option that provides cohorted lessons, assuming maybe you had an A group and a B group, this would follow that trajectory. And then we also have modified Every Child Ready in-person lessons because, as it turns out, it's really tricky to teach pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 how to recognize emotions when wearing a mask. And so we've spent some time and resources building out what this looks like in this COVID-19 world if pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 students are in their classrooms. We also have a unique partnership with Nick Jr., with Noggin as the educational part of Nick Jr., where we have aligned Every Child Ready essential standards with high quality media from the experts at Nick Jr., so that children have the opportunity to experience media and characters they love, like Paw Patrol, Blue's Clues, Dora, but it's all aligned to what they're learning, regardless of their learning setting. And then we partner with Sparkler Learning, which is also part of the Nick Jr. family, to support communication with teachers and families in English and Spanish, and then also provide off-screen opportunities to deepen family engagement and layer the learning that children are experiencing, both with the Noggin activities, but most importantly, the Every Child Ready essential standards that were identified in whatever learning environment that the child is experiencing. I'll pause for questions.
Christina, was there anything specific that kind of brought you back that you wanted to hear a little bit more besides just that you missed the beginning? Was there something specific that spoke to you about Every Child Ready?
Not at the moment. I wanted to comment, I do like the Noggin partnership that you guys have because a lot of my kids are like so into Paw Patrol.
Yeah, it's so much fun to learn with Rubble and Marshall, right? Than like going through rhyming words with a family member sometimes. But we developed that because families were just really having a hard time. And one of our earlier groups had mentioned that families are trying their best, but they still need things to do with their children at home. And so in addition to the free resources that I linked, the Noggin and Sparkler have been something that have been really helpful. I'm gonna pop actually over to the, I'm screen sharing, but let's see if I'm screen sharing the correct thing. Let's see, share screen. I'm gonna go back over here to our Every Child Ready website, because I just want to highlight the Every Child Ready at Home. These are all free resources. You could use these tomorrow. You just go to the website, you can click here, and these are meant to be, you know, for lack of a better word, it's a packet of activities, but it's really meant to be engaging and fun. It includes language literacy, math, STEM, social emotional learning, and it is available in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Amharic. Completely translated and ready to go. So some of our partners are printing these, some of them use them as guides and then have their own materials at home to support. It really just depends on the resources available to you. You'll also see that included in this website, because we author a lot of our own children's books, we're able to give these books away for free. And so this book is a crowd favorite, Count the Noisy Birds. It's one of our math books, and you can go through and, you know, you have full access to this text. Something that's also really exciting with Sparkler is we have these storybooks audio recorded. And so parents and family members have started using some of these audio recordings to support bedtime when they're juggling multiple things at once, but they know that their child still gets a high quality book reading. So really excited and proud of that as well.
I see Alisa Rivera joined us, and Cristaline Guerra was on earlier from Hutto ISD. She's from Hutto ISD, and I know her. I went in her classroom when I was a teacher a long time ago, and she had an amazing classroom, and now she's an amazing pre-K coordinator. But one of the things I just wanted to highlight is that everything's going to be available in Spanish and English, and that this is really a curriculum that prioritizes play. There's 2 center times every day. There is a lot of support and detail about building interesting, intriguing centers that will lead to meaningful learning, where kids are learning academic content through playful center time. And differentiation is a huge part of Every Child Ready. So there's actually core content that's taught in small groups rather than just whole group after whole group. So kids are challenged no matter when or where they are when they start pre-K. Is there anything else, Alisa or Christina, that you would like to know or that we could give a preview of?
I think I'm all good for now. I do like the 2 center times because sometimes one is not enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Elisa's asking about family engagement opportunities.
Yes, so we approach family engagement a couple different ways. As I mentioned, we have the Sparkler Learning Partnership where families are sent or push notifications on their cell phone or whatever device they sign up for, and they receive activities that they can engage with their child in off screen that align with the thematic components. We also have family engagement supports for every thematic unit that are available, obviously translated into English, Spanish, and Amharic as in terms of, we call them unit letters. I'd be happy to show some of those. And then as we're growing our network and in this virtual world, we're able to reach families in a much different way. And so I'm excited to share that my team is actually engaged in what we're calling virtual play-alongs. And so over the next 8 weeks, we're gonna have STEM activities and read-alouds, Lego builds, lots of different ways that families can tune in and play with their child, or know at least that their child is in playful hands and will engage in high quality early learning. But we really do see families now more than ever as such an important piece of high quality early learning experiences, and love to bring them in, even to the extent of, what do you define as kindergarten readiness? We really want to know where families are on that. Yes, and I would be happy to share. If you wouldn't mind dropping your email in the chat, I can forward some of that information over to you.
Well, this is a great option if your priority is making sure kids are ready for kindergarten, but doing it in a way that speaks to how children learn. Their brains are wired to play, and we want to seize on that. And that's really how Every Child Ready teaches social emotional skills as well as language and academic skills. So appreciate y'all being here.
Okay, well, we are at time. And so I guess if there are no further questions, we certainly appreciate the 2 folks that showed up, and good conversation. And thank you to the Appletree Institute for making all of this possible. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Please, and share our gratitude with your colleagues at TEA, but we really appreciate this opportunity.
Certainly.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Siobhan and Ann, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Bye.
Bye.